SummerSlam was this past week, last weekend, in fact, live from Los Angeles. The final LA SummerSlam, at least for a year, since they're coming to the East Coast next year. I posted a full review of last weekend's SummerSlam pay-per-view as a Sound Off Extra, a rare Sound Off Extra post-pay-per-view review, exclusively on YouTube, and there is an MP3 link for those of you who want to download it, put it on your device, in the description of the video. But it does not push to iTunes, it does not push to Stitcher, it is YouTube-exclusive content for our YouTube channel. Hopefully, if you have not already subscribed, you will do so. A lot of people were not expecting a Sound Off Extra to go up, and when it did, those people who were subscribed were the first to know because you guys got a push notification about that. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel and go up there and listen to the full review. I'm not going to go into all of the different matches of the pay-per-view. I'm just going to say this. It was the first main event squash match in SummerSlam history, and I loved every second of it. It was fantastic. I love the outcome of the main event. It was the right move to make. Brock Lesnar destroying John Cena to become the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion in pretty shocking fashion. I don't think anybody would have predicted that John Cena would have taken that kind of beating and just gotten destroyed the way that he did as the top guy in the company, and to go out there and sacrifice himself, both as a character and literally sacrifice himself and get the shit beaten out of him for about 15 minutes straight, and dropped on his head and dropped on the back of his neck. You know, Cena's got that scar on his neck, on his throat, if you ever really notice it, because he's had neck surgery before. So I'm sure that didn't feel too good, getting dropped on the back of your head 15 times in a row. So my hat's off to John Cena for agreeing to go through with the match as it was laid out. There are a lot of top guys in his position who would have seen that, or who would have had that idea pitched to them and would have said, "Are you out of your freaking mind?" And I could think, Hogan, Austin, believe me, a lot of those guys would never have allowed themselves to look that bad in the main event on pay-per-view the way that John Cena did. He went along with it. He said, okay, if that's the plan, then so be it. So I give him a lot of credit for that, and it was everything that it should have been, in my opinion. I know some people were bored by it. I talk about this in the YouTube video. At the end of the day, they were trying to tell a story. It's up to you. If you were bored by it, then look, different strokes for different folks. They were trying to tell a story. There are people who didn't get it. They didn't get that story. They're not stupid. They're not dumb. They just didn't get it. And even the people who got it still might think it was boring. I didn't think it was boring at all. Was it a little slow in points where Brock was just kind of standing there telling the referee, ask him if he wants to give up? Yeah, maybe he could have, beaten him up a little bit more, or he could have gone for the pin, maybe have some more near falls. But again, the story they were trying to tell was he did not want to pin John Cena so much as he wanted John Cena to quit. He wanted him to give up. He wanted him to tap out, because that goes against everything the John Cena character believes, and he comes out with a little towel before every match that specifically says, never give up. And in the end, John Cena did not give up. Brock Lesnar did pin him with an F5 and won the championship. He avenged his loss 2 years ago at Extreme Rules, and everything I loved about that Extreme Rules match, aside from the finish, was everything I loved about this match. It was a match that was just different. It was different than any other main event we've ever seen on a WWE pay-per-view. Now, these two guys went out there and did it again. 2 times in a row they gave us a match, a main event we have never seen in this company before. And it also was a match that made some people, anyway, uncomfortable. That's what Brock Lesnar does. He doesn't go out there to entertain you and wrestle a wrestling match, a sports entertainment match like anybody else on the roster would do. He goes out there, he beats the crap out of people, he's a fighter, he's got the fighting gloves, he's grounded and pounded and beaten the crap out of his opponents, and generally speaking, he wants to make you feel uncomfortable. And I think mission accomplished, if that was the goal at SummerSlam. And you may recall last year's SummerSlam I said I thought was the best in 10 years. You had 2 Match of the Year candidates on that one pay-per-view, Brock Lesnar and CM Punk, John Cena and Daniel Bryan, who I think went out there, had an excellent match, and then they did the whole Money in the Bank swerve at the end, which I thought at the time was great. I thought as swerves go, it was actually really well done. The people were into it. Some people saw it coming, not everybody did. I just thought last year's SummerSlam overall, and because of those 2 top matches, was the best SummerSlam pay-per-view in a decade. Now, that's more of an indictment on how many lackluster SummerSlams we've had over the last decade. They all just sort of blend together for me. None of them really stand out. To be honest with you, I'd have to go back to, I guess, 2010, I guess, Team WWE against the Nexus. I wouldn't call that a good show, and that main event had an awful finish. Before that, I'd probably have to go back to the Icon vs. Legend match they did with Hogan and Michaels, which was in 2005, which was almost a decade ago. These pay-per-views now, there's no real identity like they used to have 20 years ago. When SummerSlam would roll around, each show would have an identity. Just the way that it was produced and, I guess, the matches themselves. I'm not even going to say that all those SummerSlams back in the late 80s, early 90s were all winners. I mean, you had some dud matches on there. But they had an identity. And these shows now, they really don't. It's like, it's SummerSlam, and it's just like any other show. The set they use, it's now the Raw set. I know they're cutting costs, but I mean, for God's sakes, do something to make this show stand out. It's one of your top 3 big pay-per-views of the year. You don't have to go gaga for Battleground or some of those shows, but for SummerSlam, you expect a little bit more, so that was a little bit disappointing. But last year's was great. This year's, I thought, overall, in terms of match quality, top to bottom, was right behind 2013.